the TCL Chinese Theatre. It's a fantastic theatre. It's around 96 years old, and I've seen this Mufasa Lion King. It was spectacular. It's an IMAX. The main theatre, spectacular theatre is an IMAX theatre. There are about other 5 or 6 theatres, but they are normal theatres. I mean, in the sense of we see them everywhere. But the main theatre is really spectacular. This is the iconic TCL Chinese Theatre. It has a long history and part of Los Angeles. It's going to be exciting to get inside and see the IMAX movie. Mufasa the Lion King 2 is playing. This is outer facade of the TCL Chinese Theatre, and it's really an amazing structure. I just wanted to they put the lights off just in time. This is the entrance to the grand entrance to the TCL Chinese Theatre. This is the TCL Chinese Theatre, real grand theatre. I like the curved screen of the 90s. These are called the picture palaces of the 1970s and so on. And the curved screen and it's just spectacular. And the woodwork, because I worked in China before, I can relate to the red color and the woodwork. It's I believe 1931 or something. I'm not sure of the exact year, but nearly 100 years old. Yeah, it's so spectacular. I mean, the theater and the woodwork and everything is like, I believe they hold the premieres of pictures here. When large productions come in. And Los Angeles and Hollywood, of course, is the home of the cinema, and the entertainment capital of the world, or the cinema or movie capital of the world. So they have this Universal and Warner Brothers, Universal, Disney, and other production houses there. Even Dolby Labs is also headquartered here. Many other technologies surrounding the movies, like Pixel Logic, or of course the Paramount Pictures is also here. So all the movie ecosystem was somehow based in Los Angeles. I believe they give reasons of film development and sunlight and some other reasons, but Los Angeles is the movie capital of the world, and this TCL Chinese Theatre is that theatre is simply ultimate. I mean, I can't really express how super this theatre is. It's fantastic. There's no word to describe this. Mufasa Lion King is going to be super, because musically, yesterday I saw it in the Universal IMAX. So this is the second IMAX that I would be seeing in, because I love IMAX. I'm like a die-hard fan of IMAX theaters. So this we got to see how it plays out, because I'm not sure if it will be in the traditional 1.43 IMAX, because IMAX is actually, there are 3 generations of IMAX. One is the one that plays with the 70mm film gone horizontally, because we have the 3 kind of, the majority are 3 kind of films, like the 35mm format, 70mm and format that runs vertically. They used to run till 10-15 years, when they were discontinued and replaced by the digital versions that we have today. Digital version is just a hard disk, right? And then when the 35mm and 70mm, they ruled for more than 110 years, we can say, since the birth of cinema in 1896 by Lumiere brothers. So what happens is now in IMAX, the IMAX had the first generation, which is called the Grand Theatre. It was the 70mm film that used to run horizontally. So the film before, till the digital came in 10-15 years back, right, the video was a series of something known as floating photo elements known as the frames. That's the reason they call it FPS, is a measurement, frames per second, like FPS 30, 28, 30 FPS. More the FPS is used for slow motion. So Then generally it's 24 fps, because in 24 fps a 35mm movie film print in normal 35mm theater moves at around 27 meters per minute, or on the 70mm moves at it's about 34 minutes. But IMAX 70mm when run horizontally, it moves at around 104 meters per minute. That means for a film that is about 3 hours long, it is 180 minutes, so each minute is 100 meters, so it will be more than 18 kilometers. Oppenheimer was the only film released in 2023 that had they are held in usually huge platters, and then that platter was itself 2.5 meters long, a little more than 2.5 meters long in diameter. And then the IMAX people said that you can to Christopher Nolan that they cannot produce those platters which are bigger than, so that's the reason Oppenheimer is exactly 3 hours movie, and they had 18 kilometers of movie reels for Oppenheimer, because Oppenheimer and June's this year was also released in the physical 70mm prints. So 18 kilometers of movie, and they came in 53 boxes, and then because each box can only hold 3 minutes of movie or something, so 53 into 3 approximately is about 53 boxes total to about 180, and they need to be added and spliced up to spliced and added up to make the whole 18 kilometers. It has to be done very precision, and then there are staggered angle edges that they use to mix those films together in the 53 boxes they take the film. It is done to meticulous job. It can't just be done by anybody. And then once it's plated, then they revolve the film in the platter, and it goes through a series of loops and turns, and then there are it goes through a series of loops and turns, because and then when it hits the light source using the the concave lens, then what happens is then of course, and the part where it hits the lens, the film is actually because by creating a vacuum, the film is stuck to the lens, the lens glass, because unless otherwise the film will fly off, right? So what they do is by vacuum, and then it spools back into the 3 mm the 3 meter diameter spool, and this action has to be very precision. Any wrong, again the operator has to do it again, and probably he will not be able to play the show as well, because people would have been bought the tickets. If let us say 500 average capacity is 500-600 people, then 500 into, even if the price is say $20, then 500 into 20 is like $10,000 is lost. So that it has to be a very careful operation and then the second generation of IMAX was a digital generation. In this generation, what happened was IMAX released projectors that were 2K. They put two 2K projectors, and I think the resolution of the total was 2.7K, and the theaters were like very small, normal regular theaters, so people were very dissatisfied, because IMAX was expanding from 300 odd theaters in the GT format, old GT format, to this. They added about hundreds of theaters because they were expanding in Asia, China, and other places. So some people call this as LIMAX, because you're lying, because the IMAX size and projection are not given. But IMAX projection size is like 1.43 to 1 is the IMAX projection size. That is the original GT IMAX, and it has like it has six track. Speakers. The speakers are just below, the left, right, side, up and bottom. Up and no bottom, but on the up. And then because the theater itself is so large in IMAX, they can actually use the space that's given to really put more speakers, and that's there because IMAX is so strict that the speakers that they put in and everything is like calibrated centrally from because IMAX is headquartered in Toronto, Canada, so they have their from their central networking center. And then what happens is because of any change, also small change, is also not accepted, because the rules are strict, like in the wine industry, the rules are strict. So then they that's where they are like calibrated extremely well from the central network operation center. And then what happens is in IMAX you can't change anything. It's very strict because they are very strict about their branding and quality. A theater in Hyderabad, like India, they discontinued with IMAX because they didn't procure the second generation of equipment. They just stopped after Interstellar in 2015. So IMAX is pretty strict with the rules and regulations. So and we see the amazing. So what happened was the third generation is the laser. Laser is actually they project two 4K projectors. So the and IMAX, the original GT 70mm that plays horizontally, actually the resolution can be up to 18,000K. 18K, which means 18,000, whatever you measure it. Then it's amazing clarity. I mean, you can't really amazing clarity in sound. It is only 6 channels of sound, meaning only there can only be 6. But in the laser version, you have the 12 channels. So in IMAX, what happens in the backstage is they have this box kind of an Almira box kind of things in which those corresponding to those 6 channels, you'll have the 6 or more boxes that control each speaker, or channel can be one speaker or a group of speakers generally. And then we see the speakers here. They are JBL speakers, and I was seeing one more company. So they'll be producing about the fantastic thousands of watts of sound. And what happens is IMAX has everything is proprietary, because IMAX is a system, is an ecosystem consisting of about 4 things. The theater layout themselves, theaters are stadium seating, and they have this amazing sound clarity, and of course the screens which are the original GT IMAX is actually 1.43 resolution, but the other IMAX that came in the digital and these laser versions, the latest IMAX theaters are 1.9 to 1, or they can go up to 2.4 also. I'm not exactly sure, but 1.9 to 1. That's the reason originally, if you see, like yesterday I saw the movie in Universal Studio IMAX Lion King, Mufasa, and that was like original 1.9 to 1 ratio. Of course it gets a bit short, and if laser projection is given, so they usually, some of the theaters where the old GT format also exists have this GT equipment, and they have a small rail that can move, because now Interstellar is re-released in 70mm format. So Interstellar, for playing Interstellar, they need to get back to the old GT equipment, right? So they will just use a rail and put this in the main, and then through the projection room they will project the GT 70mm. 70mm film wounding, actually, as I was telling, is a very technical and professional job. It's like not everybody can do it. You've done wrongly, you have to cancel the whole show and reloop it again. And then because of the 3 generations of IMAX is actually an ecosystem consisting of the theaters themselves, the projection system in the theater, the sound system, projection and the sound system in the theater, and then the camera that's used to capture the IMAX movies. For example, when it says it is shot on an IMAX cameras, it means that they have shot it to the original IMAX cameras. When it says that filmed for IMAX, it means that they would have shot it in original 35mm or 70mm digital cameras, and then they would have rescanned it using an 8K or 8K laser, 8K scanner, and then they would have got it back to 70mm film. So that's the reason filmed for shot on IMAX cameras, and there are only very few IMAX cameras that are available natively produced by IMAX or their partners, and there are about 5-6 companies that IMAX had certified, like for example RELX and Sony and Red, and I think there are a couple of more brands I'm not recollecting right now. So those are only given out to people like Christopher Nolan, who are the IMAX passionate, like I'm also IMAX passionate. Otherwise, filmed for IMAX usually means that they would have filmed it in normal 35mm or in other situations, and then they would have either, if they are trying to release in a 70mm print, then they would have scanned it and put into 70mm reels that runs horizontally. Like for example, Oppenheimer, the reel platter was 2.5 meters or 3 meters maximum, and it ran for 3 hours. As I was telling you, the reel length was 18 kilometers. And then reel was 18 kilometers of reel running. In generally 35mm movies, for a 2.5 hour movie, the reel length will be around 4,000 meters, which is about 5-6 kilometers. 70mm will be in a bit bigger than that. 70mm and 35mm. The problem with reels was, in the olden days, because reels have gone out of circulation now, right? In the last since 2010, there was a gradual, and by now no theater plays. In the morning I was seeing seeing a Egyptian theater, they said they play the 35mm reels. There was this, they got, because the reels were chemical, they were costly to produce, and what used to happen in the old days was, right, when a film in 35mm or 40mm reel was produced, they used to rotate the film in the first few weeks, or first 1 week or first few weeks. They used to rotate the film between 3 theaters, usually 2 or 3 theaters, for example, in the vicinity, right? What used to happen is, because approximately one reel box, one reel circle or one reel holder is about 11 minutes long. So 2 reel boxes would amount to about 22 minutes. So once the 22 minutes is done, next theater, if it is playing a show at 11, for example, in the morning, 11 a.m., the next theater will show it at 11:45 a.m., and these 22-meter reels would then get transported to the theater within these few minutes. They used to use tricycles and rickshaws, or the tuk-tuks or rickshaws or tricycles or bicycles or cars for this purpose. And then once this second theater has played those 22-minute reels, then the third theater would play them. Say this is playing, first theater is playing at 11, second theater at 11:45, third theater at 12:30. So the third theater would get it, and then they used to rotate the reels, because at the end of the first week or the first few days or first week or first few weeks, they will return to one of the main theaters, because the second and third theaters would be releasing new movies, because generally the convention is to release movies on Fridays. So every Friday they will be releasing a new movies, whereas if the movie is a successful thing, they may keep it for a few more weeks. The second and third theaters, they are called so that's the reason the first theater is called the main theater, the second and third theaters are called the distribution theaters. So distribution theaters, because of they may keep it for not a week or a few weeks if the film has become successful commercially. So what used to happen is, in the old days, or there is a distribution formula that works between this movie producers, and there are 3 aspects in a movie production and distribution. It's called like electricity is produced, and then it's transmitted through transmission lines, and then it is distributed to individual houses or companies, right? Or commercial buildings or complexes. Similarly, movies is a 3-step in which you have the producer, or who produces the movie, who makes the movie with all the effort, artists, technical people, and the sound engineers, and post-production people, and everyone. But second step is called the distribution, and third step is the exhibition. Exhibition are the theaters. So what happens is, between the production and sometimes this all the 3 elements could be vertically integrated, in the sense there could only be one company doing all the 3 things. It may own the theaters, or it may lease the theaters. It may have the power to lease the theaters, and then usually in that case what happens is, when that film is released, he has such power that other films usually refrain from releasing. For example, if Christmas period is a holiday period, right, they usually release a few blockbusters during Christmas time. So other producers will either wait, or they will either release it before or after, because this is like a flood, right? I mean, this flood will it's possible that if they release too many films at the same time, many will flop, and commercially they will not be a success, and it's a problem. That's the reason what happens is, these 3 steps, the distributor is the person who takes the risk. It is very much possible that the producer, distributor, and the exhibitor, the theaters could be one person, or they could be 3 different, one person in the sense one company or one person, or they could be 3 different people. So what happens is, in that case, the distributor, once the producer makes the movie, he makes the movie for 100 million or something, then he would, if it's a grand production, it goes in millions and sometimes even billions, right? So what happens is, he outrightly sells that movie to the distributor, says that, okay, give me 100 million or 200 million, whatever his profit. And then it's the risk of the distributor. If the movie runs well, then of course the distributor will earn, otherwise the distributor will lose. So the screen is opening, so yeah, in that case, so it's a very risky business, and the screen is opening. So in that case, the theater, so the amount, the production amounts are split between the distributor and the theater. In old traditional theaters, the distribution percentage used to be like very high. for the distributor and very low for the theater. But now in multiplexes, it's and this percentage tapers off as more weeks go on. So it's a very risky business. I mean, commercially, movies is a very, very risky business. People lose, people, are, become homeless if the movie flops sometimes. So that's the kind of risk. And yeah, the screen has opened and Mufasa Grand Theatre. Super excited to be seeing. Yeah, this is Imax with laser.
36 degrees at home.
The TCL Theatre, the final screen closing. Mufasa was fantastic in this theatre.